Good morning, mixtapers. It is Tuesday, and it is not songwriting week. Nevertheless, here is a video about songwriting. I've only been writing songs for a few months now, but I've already learned quite a few things that I think should be shared with our viewers. So without further ado, here are 5 tips, not necessarily the most important tips or the best tips, but 5 tips that I have found really help to write better songs and to write songs more consistently. Tip number 1. I'd say my first tip was to write songs for yourself and not for your audience. I suppose an example of this would be, for me, I would not be able to write a Wizard Rock song because I don't like Harry Potter. If I thought that my audience wanted to hear a Wizard Rock song and I tried, it would be terrible. It would not make any sense. So you should always write songs that you feel are good for you, not the stuff that you think your audience wants to hear. Tip number 2. Second tip is record everything, and this goes for lyrics and sound as well. When you're writing down the lyrics, save everything in a Word document. Don't just write it down on a sheet of paper and then lose it. Make sure you keep hold of everything. Even if you think the song is going to be terrible and you're going to scrap it, keep hold of it, because you might be able to use like 1 or 2 lines in a later song. And also, when you're recording your chords for it, don't expect just to remember it, because I know from experience that if you think you're going to remember it, you're probably not going to. You need to record it on a tape or on your computer or some way that you could just look back on it later to remind yourself what you're thinking of. Because if you don't, you're going to forget, and then you'll be very, very annoyed. And believe me, I know this from experience. Tip number 3. Number 3 is something that Bill touched on yesterday, in that simple does not mean amateur. You can just have a guitar and just sing, and it can sound brilliant, and it will not in any way mean that you are less a musician than someone who has a full band behind them. Tip number 4. Tip number 4, and this is especially important if you're just starting off as a songwriter, get second opinions. Send them to friends, people who you can rely on to give you constructive criticism, and be honest. Send them off and see what people think. When I was first songwriting, I used to send my songs to my sister Ruth, who's in Cambridge, and I would send them off to her and she'd give me her opinion on them, and sometimes there were things that needed tweaking and she'd tell me, and it was very useful. Tip number 5. Number 5 is a bitter truth, but one that I have come to learn very quickly, is that 9 times out of 10 you're going to fail. Not many songs make it through the net to actually make it onto YouTube. In fact, if I just go and count, I think you'll find that I have a large number of songs that didn't go through compared to the ones that have actually made it to YouTube so far. So I've counted up the songs that I have on my computer, and here we go. 8 songs have been released, and there's 2 Harry Potter parodies as well. Scrapped songs, songs that failed during the lyric stage or I just wrote and then thought they were terrible, 23. 3 of which are kind of on the shelf that need to be looked at in like a few months, and I'll come back to them. Currently got 6 songs in progress, probably 2 of which at least are going to crash and burn before they make it to YouTube. So I think it's important that you remember that not every song is going to be a hit. Even if you're an amazing songwriter, which to be honest I'm not that much of an amazing songwriter, you shall soon realise that things aren't always going to work out the way you plan, and things are not going to go smoothly all the time. So it's pretty natural that more songs are going to crash and burn than end up being performed at venues or on YouTube or put on CDs. So I hope those were helpful to you. If you've got any tips to add, then feel free to leave them in comments for everyone else to see. Ed, I will see you tomorrow.